Welcome to the More Life podcast, where creatives, problem solvers, and entrepreneurs talk about squeezing more out and finding meaning in this crazy thing we call life. Let's dive in. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the More Life podcast. I am your host, Bart Aniston, and today my very special guest is Francois Painchaud. Francois is from Montreal, Quebec, in Canada, and he is, I would consider now, a veteran in the digital marketing landscape. Francois, say hello to everybody, please.
Hello, everyone.
So, Francois, please explain a little bit, maybe why I would consider you, anyways, a veteran, because not many people can say that they have 20 years of experience in the digital marketing world. And it's great to see some of the progression. And, we just met a few weeks ago through LinkedIn, and I was very impressed by how much I've learned about you and your journey, and how you maybe were a little bit of a pioneer without even knowing it in terms of figuring out next steps in terms of business growth in the marketing world.
Yeah, well, I've been, like you said, doing this for over 20 years. So, and I would say it's more my different background. Like I might have told you, the way we started was by building a production app for a business, and that was my first contract. It was a huge contract. It was in the 6 numbers. So for us, like mid 20s, it was like very important deal.
You came out with a bang.
I was the technical. Yeah, exactly. And it ended up, and it came to other stuff, but it was awesome. I was the technical part because I studied Linux server management, and my buddy at the time, who wasn't my business partner, but would become my business partner, he studied business process re-engineering at university, and we sold a software for a trucking company to optimize their fleet. They had over 200 vehicles, and they had like penalties and warranties that were expiring. So they were losing a lot of money every year. So we kind of designed a software, and this is in 2000, I think, or maybe 2001.
Yeah.
And we actually built a web software. So it was all .asp at that time.
I remember .asp.
In a little box. So we designed the software, and that started the process. And actually, they just asked us, can you do our website? And we said, for sure. We were looking for a contract, so of course we would sell them a website. We had no idea, what was building a website. We knew about the web, but that was about it. And we ended up hiring freelancers, building the website, doing a great job. Cost us a few $100s, but we sold for a few thousand. And me and my buddy at the time said, well, you know what? This is what we're going to do. So that's how my web design business started, by this contract. And then we made over like 500 websites along the way. So
wow, that, especially back then, you're talking about early 2000s, the web was still a little bit mysterious for the average business owner, the average company. You could easily, to get a very basic website, spend lots of money, because HTML, CSS, PHP, that stuff was so new. There was a big gap between the consumer level and what you would consider a professional. So it's very interesting to see how the world has progressed, where there are so many more do-it-yourself type platforms when you think of Squarespace and Wix and WordPress and all these different things. So it begs me to question, how did you already innately know how to market this, or were you feeling a little bit like, hey, I've already done a really good project, now let's just move on to the next and to the next and to the next? Because it's one thing to have the skills, it's another thing to have the business acumen, smarts, to be able to grow a business itself.
Yeah, well, actually, I can still barely just play with code. even though I'm now up to over 1,000 websites that I managed, but coding is very technical, and that's not what I do. I've actually been a lifelong entrepreneur. My first business was a landscaping business, and then I had
Nice.
a window washing business and paint when I was in college. Used to do that in summer, so I kind of understood business from an early age. Deliver high quality, try to make a profit, and the word will be passed along. So that's how I kind of started. So the technical part today is very different than in these days. These days, people didn't really know about value of
Right.
these websites, didn't know how much it was worth. So if they trusted you, you would get the project. So today, very different indeed with the different platforms, and that's good. I mean, I think those platforms are great for small startup businesses who work from their home and don't have much budget. But for bigger businesses, what you're lacking is more the consulting part of it and the strategy part of it. And because building a website, as you said, like an hour on Wix or whatever other platform, it can be done. But
Yeah.
it depends on your needs. It doesn't always match your needs.
I get this question a lot whenever I do any type of speaking. People say, well, how long do you anticipate you'll be able to build websites for a living? Because that's what we do in our marketing agency predominantly. And I try to explain to people the differentiator between us and, your 15-year-old cousin who can build a website is we build strategy. The difference is going to be the years of expertise and understanding what your goals are and being able to help you with the right pivot points to actually build up to your goals. And anybody can build a website. I tell this to anybody. You want to build a website, spend one afternoon and build a website. That's not complicated at all. The difference is going to be in your marketing, your strategy. It's going to be in what is going to be most important to you and how are you going to define those goals, and then start to track them. And then that's where you can kind of see, oh, this is beneficial. There is some great integration here. There's some technology, and it's not just putting things that look good and feel good to you as you go along. There's a lot of people now that I feel like the world is changing so fast, and especially in our world, the web development and marketing and strategy. How do you stay on top? Because, and I don't mean like you're the number one best web designer of all time. No offense, Francois, but at the same time, what I mean is, how do you stay knowledgeable consistently as things change into, CSS3 and HTML5? And how do you stay consistent with what people are looking for and Web 3.0 and, all this different landscape with crypto and all this different type of stuff? How do you stay abreast of what's happening?
I don't. No, I'm kidding. I mostly don't do any websites anymore. I'll do websites mostly for clients I've had for years or decades, or for friends, stuff like that. Because now I mostly focus on ads and conversion rate optimization, ad campaigns and stuff like that. Like I really try to connect people with their ideal clients. I've been through the web design business. I've had that business for 7 years, which I sold in 2007. I went on after that to create an SEO agency, which I had for a few years, that I sold again this agency. And those were great knowledge, because my learning experience is amazing from knowing these areas. But where I really fit in as the mathematic calculation statistic kind of person I am is really ads and conversion rate optimization. So these days I mostly work with good partners, people who build websites, who focus only on that or mostly on that, and trust their experience. At least I speak the same language. I understand where they're going exactly. So that's basically like, to answer your question, I do still keep in touch, because it's an industry that I really enjoy and like, but not in a sales perspective. For that point, I really try to refer people to partners and people around me who are really the experts, because if somebody knows that it is an industry, and it's not because you know how to navigate a website that you know how to build a website.
That's
it's not
true.
like people sometimes, I use the analogy of a car. I know how to drive a car, but if something breaks, I bring it to the shop. This guy
Yeah.
is the expert. I'm not going to learn how to change an injector in my car. Come on. I'm driving the car. I'm not building the car. But since web is so easy for people to use a tool, and companies push that it's easy, build your own website. Yeah, of course, it's super easy. But in the other hand, look at your competition. Look at what you're doing and look at what your competition is doing. I see that a lot with coaches. I have a few clients that are like performance coaches and stuff like that. And some of them have hired agencies to build their website. They look amazing, super professional. And others have built their website themselves. And it's completely a different story. So yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
You mentioned selling your businesses and that you've done this now a few times. Tell me a little bit about this process, because we've spoken about this a little bit before in terms of like you had built this thing and I guess you saw you came back from a trip and you had this opportunity where you thought, oh, maybe in a few years this will be the right move for me. What happened with selling a business? I think that's a dream for a lot of people. I will start something, a startup, and then someone will buy it and I'll make millions of dollars and everything's going to be great. There's this idea, this elusive dream in digital marketing that everything is just fast and easy and there's so much money everywhere. I want to hear your perspective as a veteran in this industry for so long, how this all happened for you.
Yeah, well, it wasn't fast or easy, honestly. It was fast and easy. It was fast and easy to sell, but to build something sellable, that I remember sleeping at the office. I remember working like crazy. And yeah, like you said, I went on a trip and then I came back. I went to Panama, and when I came back, I remember I was on the highway and I was like, this is not what I want. This is not what I want. I want like flip-flops and shorts. This is where I'm at right now. So
driving in the highway in Montreal is never a fun experience.
Exactly. So I was like, this is enough for me. So my business partner, which I started in 2000 with the software, and we were friends. We were good friends. I told him, you know what, 5 years and I'm out. I want to live in somewhere else. I was tired of winters. I was like, I've had enough of this. I need something different. And then we said, okay. And then a few weeks later, we posted the business, or maybe a few months, maybe a couple months later, we posted the business on a website that I think it's named acquisition.biz or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's quite popular in this area, at least for people wanting to sell their business. So we simply listed the business there with a price that was convenient to us. I mean, it was not like skyrocket, but I think it was higher than what we thought the business was worth. We still had 500 clients, and we were hosting most of these clients that we built websites. So we still had some decent recurring. We had a good pipeline. We had good projects and good clients and stuff like that. So it was worth something for sure. So we listed the business for sale, and honestly, within like 3 weeks, we had a few very interested buyers, and within 2 months, the business was sold to a few people, one from the United States, one from Montreal, who they actually already owned a computer technician company that were fixing computers and businesses. So they wanted to buy our client base and kind of mix and match the services, the one to each other. So they bought the project. I kept 10% at the beginning because they actually wanted us, or me. My partner also stayed for a while to stay with the business. But along the way, I sold my 10% because they changed completely the mindset of the business. We had something very profitable. Yeah, we had something that was like the production was set, everything was set to sell websites at around $7,000-8,000. That was our sweet spot. It was easy to sell, easy to produce. It was amazing, and the high profit. But the new owners, they started to change that and trying to build websites for $1,000. So after a while, I was like, that's not the business. That's not how it was built. Like the profit margins are completely different. The 100%. Production needs are different. Clients are different. So it's not the same business. So I sold my 10% and it took a few years off at that point.
In this business here, how did you... there's so many questions I want to ask. This is going to be a very selfish podcast episode, guys. It's going to be all about me in this episode. what were the growth milestones that you guys had in those early years? And what I'm talking about is, how did you keep your production costs low to make sure that this product was very profitable? Were you guys outsourcing overseas, or were you outsourcing in Canada, US? And the other side of that is, actually, you know what? Let's stop there. I have there's too many questions. Let's start with there. What was the production milestones and understanding where your profitability was?
Yeah. Well, we outsourced every production, all production. We didn't have any designers, any coders in-house. And we found people around Montreal. So it was all local. We actually went to a decent university where I went. It was more of a business university where they teach advanced people, advanced coding and stuff like that. And we posted a job offer, and we found a few really little genius that were coding genius, and they were quick, they were efficient, and those were actually the first guy that we hired for the software we built. He worked for us on the websites, and as long as with other people, and same thing with designers. We hired, I remember one girl, she worked for us for a few years, and she was on the South Shore here and doing great work. So it's kind of pretty local, but our staff was mostly sales and the strategy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, this is great, because I think there's a lot of people that get inside of the marketing world, and they're selling websites, they're selling design, and they're quick to tell you how much money they made, gross revenue. But when you start to dive deeper into profitability, it's a much quieter conversation, because people have not done the built out work year over year. What is this going to look like as we scale? Is the scalability of this business model, this plan, going to help me with what my profit goals are going to be? Because if at the end of the day, it's about being able to afford a lifestyle that is what you expect, whether it's just paying bills, whether it's being able to afford a vacation, whether it is to live nomadically around the world, whatever your goals are. There is the reason why you're doing this is one, passion, you're probably good at it, you have some skill. The other side is going to be, I'm trying to make money in a comfortable position. We're lucky to live in this era now. 50 years ago, you work for work's sake, or most people do, but now there's a lot more people in this world who are like, I want to work for passion. So there is that mindset of like, okay, what's the profitability? And that's why I was asking that question. And how do you measure that? And you guys talked about saying, you were outsourcing for a long while. From the very beginning, you guys were doing none of the work in-house. You found places and ways to do it. And then the other thing I wanted to mention real quick was, a lot of times, and I fall into this trap, you think the only way to grow is to just continually keep raising your prices. But the market will always bear what it can bear. And you guys found a sweet spot, 7 to 8K for a website, that you can sell volume instead of only prices. Some people go say, hey, I only want to build 4 or 5 websites for the year, and they're hoping to make $500,000 annual revenue based on 5 clients. And other people will say, listen, I can find the right types of clients who are at that perfect growth point, who have enough money to spend maybe just around 10K, who are willing, that I can find multiple of those people, and I can churn out a website in 4 to 6 weeks, and we can wash and repeat. And now I have enough people inside my pipeline internally and through my connections that we can do maybe 10 of these a month. Is that kind of where you guys were, where you were saying, hey, we're going to go for a little bit more of the volume? We're not looking for the $80,000 website every single time. You guys were looking more for the 7 to 8K. And how many websites could you guys do at a rate like that at a time?
It varied depending on the size of the website. Some of them were super small, some of them were a bit bigger. But this business operated for 7 years, and we sold 500 websites.
That's
so
ridiculous.
That gives you an idea. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, how many sites did we build last year in my company? I think it was like 11, not even. Yeah, 11, 12. Because we do a lot of other things, but like still, to do 500 in 7 years, those are some serious numbers in terms of producing the work and managing
exactly.
the client and the account manager, all that kind of stuff. In today's world, everybody is talking about, how to leverage your sales. This is, again, another problem we face right now in our company. I'm telling you, this is going to be all about me, this whole podcast episode.
All good.
But I believe there's a lot of people who listen to my show who might be in a similar position. It used to be that, you would have either content marketing or some type of marketing garner sales. And now there's a lot more smaller agencies or companies who are starting earlier, acquiring or looking for sales talent to sell the business. How early did you guys do this? And did you also do it in your SEO, your second venture or third venture at this point, business as well, where you kind of were looking for to hire internal salespeople working in the business to sell the products?
We went through all of that, honestly. And again, to be super transparent, the best people to sell were always the owners.
Yeah.
Like in most of my businesses, except from this one I'm alone. In most of my businesses, I had a partner, and it came down to us. We tried hiring salespeople, but honestly, it really never worked out. Not even close to what we were producing in terms of sales and the time spent on sales. So basically, our experience with salespeople wasn't that great. It's more about, for me at least, it's more about who can I reach easily, that has a need, and then I'll create a product for that. So people sometimes start by the opposite. They start by creating their product and then thinking, okay, how do I market that? I started the other way around. So what can I market easily to people I have? Like in my business that we sold in 2007, we found a partner. We got to be friends with that person. He designed, when they have a construction site, like a building they're going to build, they always have the plans before they build, and they sell on plans. All right. Well, I became friend with someone who built these plans for construction companies. Every time he would have, and they were the go-to company in this area. So every time they had a new client, they asked, do you have a web designer for your real estate project? And every time, like 99% of the time, people said, no, we don't. And they said, well, we have the perfect agency for you. So those were my salespeople. I gladly gave them 10% of everything that came along. And for me, it was great. $7,000 website, $700 commission for a sale. And it cost us maybe, $2,500 to produce. So a lot of profit left for managing. We were at about 50% profit once everything came into like managing, producing, costs, everything. So there was a lot of decent profit left. Yeah.
Would you say that you were, because you said you had a business partner, and usually a good business partner has different skill sets between the two. What would you say would be like the big buckets? Was one more creative? Was one more project management or administrative? How did that work split?
In that business particularly, I was the vice president and I was in charge of sales and production. So that's a big chunk of the business. But my partner was more in charge of big lines, partnerships, finances, which is a big thing when you start to get in a decent money coming in. You need somebody who can play with money and understands money and understands the fiscal people and the accountants and can really get the maximum of that. And that's not my forte. I'm really more of a strategy. And that's one of the reasons I sold the business, because I was kind of not working on strategies anymore. I was more managing the business, managing our project manager. So I was not doing what I love. So that also came into my decision to sell the business. But I mean, production, sales, and finance, those are, I think, the three areas where you need to really be good and keep getting better all the time.
That makes sense, especially in this world where I know we just went through like the post-tech boom, where so many startups were not even talking about profitability. They were just talking about scale and growth, and you have big companies like, Casper mattresses and Uber and all that kind of stuff, who even Netflix, struggling with profitability, and they got away from, like, I guess, the core business side of how to build a proper structure. And people in my position, who are starting out and maybe have had a little bit of growth, one of the things that a lot of them are I guess having a hard time with is understanding what is the proper size for their company, which, like, bigger is not always better. There might be a diminishing return in terms of profitability, in terms of satisfaction, in terms of quality of life. So was there ever a point where you guys were like, hey, we need to just stay at this level? Or was there a point where you said, we've pushed too far now, because now this is becoming a little too chaotic for us to manage?
Yeah, definitely. Not with that business. We sold at the best time, I think. We were a small, agile team, and that was fine. But in another business after that I had, we came right there. And that's a business where we did a bit of a web app, but also a lot of a website also. It started with PPC and a little bit Google Ads. But we hired designers and coders in-house for that business. And at one point I think we were like 17 or 16. And wow. That for me was awful, because it was costing so much money to run the business, and we were making money, but at the end of the month, I was left with not much profit, not much money was left, because it was developers. They cost a lot of money, like a good developer. And I'm still friends. I still have one that works for me for like 6-7 years now. We're very good friends. I'm with him, and he tells me he gets offers on LinkedIn weekly basis for much more than what I'm paying him, for sure. But for him, he's happy with the business. But that's the reality for good developers. Yeah. They have more than offers. Like, people get offered $150K a year to be a developer here. I can't match that, for sure. I can't match that. But you still need to pay. I had people that were 23, 24, were making like $65,000, $70,000 a year. That's awesome.
Multiples.
That's great.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what it's worth. If you want good talent, that's pretty much what it's worth in this area. So when you have like a few developers, a few designers, project managers, Google Ads people, that piles up very quickly. So even if you're making 100K a month, if it's costing you 92, I mean, I'd rather work alone, honestly, and make it. And this is more the setup of my business now. We're 3 people, and we're fine with that. I'm still growing. I'm still hiring new people now, but slow growth, and keep the profit margins really to what I want. And my time. It's very important to me not to be super busy and work like crazy like I did before. I work around. A big week for me is like 30 hours, and that's a big week. That's where I find I'm most productive, and that's where I find I have fun. I'm happy to work during the day. I still have the liberty to do whatever I want, and I'm making more money than when I was working 3 times that much. So
that's exactly
but that comes with experience, I think.
Yes, that comes with experience. You have to make a lot of mistakes and to find out where your boundaries are. Say, oh, this is actually very uncomfortable. I need to scale back here. Or actually, through the years of experience, you start to learn, oh, this vertical, this metric is actually extremely profitable. Not in the sense of a product or a service, but if I spend most of my time, let's say, developing a good enough system, that means I can only design it once and somebody else can jump in and do this. Or if I hand this off to somebody else and they can manage it and take care of it, that's where you start to find out, oh, how am I best suited for my business, and be able to be like, oh, this is how I'm going to see a greater return on my investment because I'm in the right place. Because I don't know if this is you, but I struggle with this sometimes. I have lots of skills, and I could be the creative director for our agency. I could be the developer for our agency. I could, but I feel like my job is to manage people and to do sales, just kind of what you were talking about before. And that's where I'm most needed and most valuable. I could do the other things, but I can, at this point, I can find somebody cheaper than me to do the work in terms of designing something. It's a very unique paradox in this world of growth. And this is where I think your expertise comes in multiple times over, because you've gone from zero to growth every time, and you've been able to sell something and move on to the next idea or next project, which keeps you fresh, which I love. That's something that is a passion of mine as well, is to have multiple ideas and to, don't just start something not to finish, but you were able to sustain growth to a place where it made sense for you to pivot to what was next. And I'm very interested to hear a little bit about your new business that you've started, and how old it is, and how long you've been working in it, and what are some of the main functionalities or services that you guys offer.
Yeah, just to touch point on what you mentioned about systems, I'm huge on systems. I build little systems to automate non-value added tasks all the time, and that started with the first business where we I kind of not regretted, but felt a little sting, because we built like a Dropbox in 2000. It was we had the server in our office, and we were sharing files with our customers, and through that little FTP server with a HTML interface. So when I saw how big Dropbox and all the other companies went, I said, "Oh my God, we had the product in the house."
Shout out to everybody, real quick. I know you're going to answer my question. Shout out to back in the day where the only real way to transfer big files was through FTP servers. If those of you who are old enough to know, those were the days. CyberDucky, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly, for sure, exactly. Same area as the stuffing white keywords on a white page to gain better SEO. Exactly. I've been through that. My current business has been running for just over 2 years, maybe 3 years now. I took another vacation, sold the last business a few years ago, took a few months vacation in Europe, and then came back and created this company. And what we do is we connect our clients with their ideal clients. Basically, that's what I do, and it's mostly through Google Ads, landing pages, conversion rate optimization. I do consulting also, and I'm starting to do a little bit more LinkedIn for my clients. They were asking for how can I reach my client on LinkedIn without ads. So I'm trying to figure out how. We've been doing that for like 4 months now. How can I help my clients that when they're targeting a specific industry, which is hard to target on Google Ads. Google Ads is search based, so it's keyword based, but some people, it doesn't match their business as well as somebody who's looking for financing or a lawyer or stuff like that. That's easy.
Right.
But for a coach, for example, there's not a lot of people looking for a coach or a performance coach and stuff like that, but they usually have specific industries where they know they work well. So trying to figure out with them how to reach and create a conversation with them, with their clients on LinkedIn. So basically
that's amazing. Yeah, I've heard a lot of, now, to me, it sounds scammy, not your business, where I get a lot of LinkedIn requests telling me how they can get me LinkedIn leads and setters. I don't know if you know that term, setters, people that just basically get you appointments. They set appointments for you. And I don't know how, because to me, again, I've learned to love systems. I'm a creative who has a very strong administrative brain. I've had to learn through many trials and errors. So I'm trying to see, how do I impart the vision and the product, services, all that type of knowledge that I have, and trust it to somebody to get a lead that is worth talking to. And I have a big gap, and nobody has been able to explain it to me, that I speak with when I have some of these meetings with some of these service providers, and I see, okay, I understand, but it feels very copy paste in terms of the responses, and it's just somebody in another part of the world who's just copy pasting responses, changing names, and it seems very mundane. And I don't know, that's just not the personality of our business. We're called creative partner. We're supposed to be personable partners with you in whatever your venture is. So it feels off brand for us. How do you, especially in that LinkedIn world, how are you guys trying to navigate the I guess the minefield, you said it's very new for you, right? So how are you guys navigating through, oh, this is how we can help leverage, whether it's finding the right clients and setting up appointments, or what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, well, actually, a great question. What I did, my second business that I sold was an SEO agency.
Right.
That SEO agency was a white label SEO, and all my clients were web design agencies or consultants and stuff like that who were reselling my services to their clients. And I built that business in, I think, 2013. I created that business and I launched that business, and I had all my clients within like 3 weeks.
Wow.
The business was done. It was a good six-figure business within 3 weeks. And the way I did it was through LinkedIn. So for me, it was kind of like, okay, how can I replicate that in the best way possible for my clients? Because it was the same thing that I'm still doing with my clients, but today with more automation, with more tools, with more possibilities than we had in 2013. 2013 was a huge Excel file that I was doing manually. But basically, I knew that my target clients were web design agencies. So I just sent connection requests to all the web design agencies in the area. I went also a little bit into Western Canada, but mostly in Quebec. I sent a connection request, and to people that replied, that accepted my connection request, I simply sent an email because, little parenthesis, I lived a few years in Peru between these two businesses. Right. And in my last 2 years in Peru, I built a bunch of blogs and websites just to perfect my SEO skills. I already had some knowledge, but I really wanted to be best. And when I came here, I noticed that the web design agencies that were selling SEO services to their clients, they had no idea what they were doing. They were doing the worst practices, like old practices that didn't work anymore. So I said, well, why not sell this to web design agencies? Easy. I only work with people who speak my language.
100%.
I can run 300 SEO campaigns a month and work with 10 people. That for me was a big sales point, and these people, they're marketing managers. We speak the same language. It's not the client, where you have to explain all the time the same thing. That
you're babysitting.
Exactly. So I knew that there was an opportunity for SEO. So when they accepted my request, I simply sent them an email. Hey, if you're interested, I have some SEO knowledge. I can do that white label for you, for your clients. And of course, not everybody, it's not a match for everyone, of course, but I found my 25, 30 clients within 3 weeks. And that's just what I needed to launch my client. And like, I remember one of these clients within they all start with one campaign. And once they see what you're doing, now they go with all their clients. And I had a few clients with 25, 30 campaigns each. And that for me was, oh, wow, this is a great business. So I did that for a few years. And when I sold that business, it was for another venture where the business partner coming in, because I was alone in that business also, that's true, the SEO. But I was bought to create a new entity that we would funnel all of my actual clients in the new business. So that was another venture. And that's the one where we became to 16, 17 employees, where I said, I bought out my business partner a couple years later, and I dimmed down the business. And then after some point, I said, you know what, I'm rebranding and I'm changing the whole thing. I don't want to do web design anymore. I just want to do ads. And because for me, you mentioned where you're valuable, where you're indispensable and stuff like that. I also add to that where I have fun.
That's true
for
too.
Me, if I don't have fun, it's a ticking bomb. Really, it's just until one point that I go, okay, I've had enough. I need to do something else, and I don't want to go there. So for me, those are the key factors. And where I have fun is really with Google Ads and those numbers, because again, the industry is full of incompetent agencies, so it's kind of easy to be better than the others. So for me, that's a huge opportunity. When you're good, I think I've had clients now that were with me with prior businesses, and they stayed with me. So I have clients now that have been with me for 6-7 years that I've been doing Google Ads, because we're still delivering great results.
And it's hard, I meet with a lot of people, especially in branding and web design, who they've been burned so badly, and they're like, oh, are you really going to be available? Because the last person that started my website disappeared, never heard from him again. It's the same thing. I hear this a lot with SEO and with ads, with PPC, where the clients just have been spending so much money, no results, none. And they're like, are you like genuine? They just want to know if you're honest. They just want to know, are you somebody that I can trust? And there's something to be said about like that old school business mentality is mean what you say what you mean. It's always better to over deliver and under commit rather than the other way around. There's a lot there. And I think with PPC, it'd be a really fresh breath of air to get actual results month over month. And again, you have that security of a recurring client. We've spoken about this too, about, the longevity of how I do my business now. And I think a lot of people, it's good to think about this as early as possible. Do you have an exit strategy? What is your exit strategy? Is this something where you feel like, okay, I can grow it to this point, but then what happens if the market shifts, or what happens if the industry that I'm in starts to behave a different way? And I'm very interested to see how this plays out for a lot of people, because I've been at this now for 4 or 5 years. I've seen how the industry has been really good to me, and sometimes it can be very challenging. And you kind of have to be like, hey, I don't like what you said. Do I want to build websites for the rest of my life, or do I want to pivot to another portion of digital marketing? What's fun? What's interesting? How can I stay curious and be learning and provide my skills and experience to clients? And I think that's the best thing to always consider, is when you're looking to be in a business, you need to solve a very specific problem for people, and there has to be demand for it. And if you can find a place where also you can always be curious and challenged, if you're built like that, to not, some people like the known, and some people like to venture into a little bit of the unknown. Say, hey, I'm curious. This is also digital marketing. What does this look like for Web 3.0? What does this look like for building SaaS? What does it look like for other aspects of digital marketing? And if you're curious, you will always be busy, because you will always find opportunities where those interests lie. And I think out of all the things that I've heard from you in the few times that we've spoken, Francois, is that you have stayed curious and you have been able to see opportunities. And that's a huge skill, and it's very basic, but you were able to do it time and time again because you stay curious. Then you get to see opportunities and say, oh, I can see that people are not doing a good job with this, and I have this skill. And then it becomes into a business. And thinking of businesses that way is, I think, very helpful to help people think of, oh, this is how I can stay relevant for a long period of time.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely. And one thing I think I just realized while you were speaking, I think what I like the most is helping other businesses grow or grow basically. And actually, fun fact, the name of my company Kasvu, KASVU, means growth in Spanish, in Finnish, sorry. Yeah, so that's what I like to do actually, is to help companies grow, and the way I see it, I've been doing that with my web design agency, with my SEO white label, helping them grow with this company. And the little caveat is that there's so many ways you can help a company become more profitable, make more money, whatever. This is the channel that I like now. This is the channel, the Google ads, the consulting, the stuff like that. This is where I know I can be super useful. I know I have great value. I also use the term under promise, over deliver. I've been doing that in all aspects of my life for years. So I think that's a great way to see things, to just make sure that you over deliver. And that actually, the fact you were talking also about, the way people have been treated in our industry, is just, some people is just awful. Of course, I've heard countless stories like that. And that was part of the reason I was super tired of the industry in 2007, where I sold and I took like 4 years off. I was tired of seeing how badly this industry was managed and there's no control. And I was quite tired. But now my clients mostly come from referrals. And once they come from referral, that barrier goes away. People like already trust you, and they're like, all right, I've heard from that person that you're great, just do your thing. And then that changes everything. The client trusts you right from the start, and that for me is a biggie.
Francois, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? I think you are a wealth of information and encouragement to a lot of people, or at least to me anyway. So I want people to be able to find you and connect with you if they're looking for mentorship or growth in their own creative businesses as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, LinkedIn is a great place. I don't know if you're going to write my name somewhere,
100%.
but of course, people, my name is quite weird. So if they find me on LinkedIn, that's a great way to connect and exchange and see if there's a fit. I'm always open to conversations like that. And there's also my website, kasvu.ca, which is my current company where we do Google Ads consulting and stuff like that. So those, I think, would be the best way to reach me.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for listening again to the More Life Podcast. I've been Bart. Check us out on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. This has been the More Life Podcast. Peace out.